Hello, and as always, thank you for coming to my talk show, Tell It Like It Is. I'm your host, morrisman, and my co-host,
Joseph Spencer.
As you guys may notice, we've been put in the newsroom, and they're working on our set. So I just thought I'd mention that because you might have said, "Hey, why it looks so different?" And that's why. Today's topic is, and I'm sure everybody can relate to this: why don't things work the way they used to? And I give you an example. This is my cell phone. I've been with the same carrier for over 3 years, and this is the third cell phone. And it's not because they gave me a free one or want to give me another one. It's because the other two stopped working. So that's why I got a third cell phone within a 3-year period when it shouldn't be that way. I can recall, and I'm sure you can attest to this, Joe, the house phone had a real sturdy cord that never shorted out. Matter of fact, you couldn't even take the cord out of the phone. It was made into the phone. And the phone lasted for 10, 15, 20 years. Yeah. We used to sometimes get beat with the phone. Yeah. I don't know about you.
The cord, not the phone.
the phone, too. You know, my mother grabbed anything that was available to get us. You know, and I remember getting beat by the phone, with the phone. And the phone still kept working, you know. Yeah. But what are your thoughts on things not working?
Well, all big companies have investors. Yeah. And if you don't recycle your sell goods, you can't make a bigger. It's got to do with making a larger profit. Yeah. And the kids now from this generation have been trained to get new stuff every 15 minutes.
That's a good point, and that's true. Our younger generation has been, I guess, brainwashed by the marketing companies or the companies to say that this is the norm to keep getting cell phones every 2 years, as opposed to this should last you 5 to 10 years. Mm-hmm. It's all, you're right, the bottom line is money. There used to be a word that companies live by and breathe by, and that's integrity. That's no longer a word that's used in the boardrooms of these big corporations. It's been replaced with profit.
Excuse me. Integrity, quality, and there was something else. I forget what it is.
Honesty.
Honesty, yeah. Integrity, honesty, and quality.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, they thrived on stuff that was quality.
And lasted, because cars used to last a very long time. Cars used to last about 20 years before you decide to, either give it to your son or you buy a new one. Now cars last about 5 to 7 years.
5 to 7 years.
And the mortgage, or should I say the car note on cars, on a brand new car, is like 5 to 7 years. Mm-hmm. So by the time you pay off the car, it's time to get another one because the car stopped running.
It stopped running.
It doesn't work anymore.
Or the electronics in the car start burning out.
Yeah. Everything is cheap. I mean, they used to use a lot of heavy metals in cars. Now they're using literally plastic. And I would hate to be in a car accident in these cars of today because you probably won't make it. They have to cut you out of it.
Well, they're saying that breakaway cars are more safe. If the car disintegrates around you instead of you having that impact like you used to have in a 1955 Packer that was made out of steel.
Well, the problem with that is once the car disintegrates, it leaves you vulnerable to get killed. So
shoot.
It's unfortunate that, that it's like that. But, I've noticed over the years, I remember metal pipes in the house. Mm-hmm. Now they replace it with plastic. Mm-hmm. And they give a rationale for the reason why they don't do that. But they just don't make them the way they used to. I mean, they just don't last.
Well, plastic have a tendency of degrading.
Yeah.
Especially water running through plastic, the PVC tubes. Uh-huh. I don't know life expectancy on it, but me being a carpenter and been in the trade at one time, I noticed there have been houses when I tore out a wall, those pipes had been there since the turn of the century. Yeah. They were clogged up, but they were still there.
Yeah, and you could unclog them with lye or Drano, which you can't use in plastic.
You can't use.
That's why they tell you.
Yeah, and they're saying the lead in the seal they put on the pipe is bad for you, which I believe it destroyed a lot of countries back in the day. Yeah. And they got a lot of reasons why they don't do stuff the way they do, and the price of metal. Yeah,
and there are some legitimate reasons why they have made a conversion from one source to another, and it's legitimate. But for the most part, let's get the cheapest material, charge you the most money, and see our profits increase. Mm-hmm.
And you're right about that. Plumbers, when they put in that PVC tube, it costs the same amount of putting in copper pipe.
Yeah. I mean, remember as a kid, and I can attest to this because I'm a child from the 60s, 70s. I remember my mom used to buy shoes that would last a couple of years until you outgrew them. And during that time, we would take them to the shoemaker, which is I guess extinct a company now. I mean, that's just the business is no longer in existence for a shoemaker.
You can find a few cobblers, but you need a jet plane to find them, or a helicopter.
Because they make shoes now where they only last 6 months. They be smelling, you toss them out. But I remember they used to put those tabs on the heels to keep the heels from wearing down.
Yeah.
Because of course, just naturally the heels are going to wear out because you're walking on pavement all the time. But the shoe itself stayed intact for years. Right now, it's like we go through shoes every 6 months.
Well, the shoes now, you can pay $150 for a shoe that's glued. You know, they've gone to these plastic soles. The bottom shoe don't have any stitching in them. And funny you mentioned that. I had went to a popular shoe place, and they were having a sale, and I found a pair of tennis shoes that were popular about 20 years ago. I bought them. They're still wrapped up. When I opened the plastic up, you smell they're brand new. And I put them on. I said, I remember these shoes. You know, these tennis shoes. I forget the name of them, but they were flat little tennis shoes. You know, And a friend of mine looked at me and said, Joe, where did you get those old-fashioned tennis shoes? I said, well, I found them at the at the shoe store for $9. He let me have them for $9. Why would you want to buy those? He said, they're old-fashioned. I said, old-fashioned, but they're brand new. Yeah, but they're old-fashioned. I said, well, they're brand new right out of the box. I looked and said, to make a long story short, if somebody could come over here and get this 1955 Cadillac that's never been driven, you wouldn't take it? Well, that's a car. I said, it's the same thing.
Yeah. Well, that's a good example of that individual has been, I guess, duped and brainwashed by the market in this country, because a lot of us don't realize why we do what we do. And it's because of television, the way that they market things, and then when everybody jumps on board, you feel that you have to be a part of that. And that's understandable when you're a teenager, because when you're a teenager, your life is all about clicks, trying to stay in the click.
This man was not a teenager. He's the same age.
Well, the point I'm making, the point I'm making, some people, never grow out of that. It's like, it's still that kind of mindset for them that they got to go out and get the newest thing, or they not hip, or it's just not right if you don't. It's ridiculous. I mean, as you get older, you make your own decisions and say, hey, this doesn't work for me, and I'm not about to spend a bunch of money on something that's not going to last.
You were talking about the back in the day. When I was a kid, you had cobblers, you had places you can go have your cameras or TV fixed. Yeah. The TV repairman.
Yeah, the shoe guy, the TV repair guy.
The toaster, you take the toaster down to the guy, and he fixed the toaster. Yeah. You had a guy to come over to fix the windows. He pulled the windows out and reframe it out and fix it. Yeah. Now all that stuff you got to order, and it comes.
Well, they don't want you to repair nothing. They want you to just buy it new stuff again. It's like, we don't want to make something that's going to last 15 years. We want to make something that's going to last every 2 years, and you keep running back and buying another one.
But when they did that, they cut out a lot of the job market.
They did. Well, that's right. Greed messes things up for everybody. Because we all have to make decisions where this works for me, and I'm going to do it this way because it works for the masses, as opposed to I'm going to be selfish and greedy. I'm going to do it this way and undercut the next guy. And everybody else that has that business now is forced to do the same.
Do the same thing.
Or they lose profit, or they go out of business.
Go out of business. Take cars, for example. When I was a kid, you're in high school, you took some classes in fixing cars, and you could fix your car. You basically will never own your car because they didn't make cars.
Oh, no. No, by the time you own it, it's time to buy another one that doesn't work anymore.
That's because you can't fix it yourself.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they make it that way. When we were kids, we could get in there and physically, because now they put the spark plugs up under the engine you can't get to it. And that's the reason why they do it, so you can't get to it, so you can take it to the dealer and get robbed.
So they can change the freaking spark plug. I couldn't believe that when I found it. You got to be kidding. You can't. Oh, man. So we're the ones that's stupid. Because we should have got a part of this. We should have went into what these people are doing.
Yeah. I mean, it's just undercut now. As opposed to 40, 50 years ago, It was a sense of integrity. There was enough room for everybody in these industries to work amongst each other and make a profit. I can recall as a teenager, McDonald's was never close to Burger King.
No.
They were literally miles away.
Miles
now
apart.
they are deliberately next door. And it's like, what is this about? You know, instead of spreading them out for people that don't have cars, and if they can't get to this one, they can walk to this one. They all centered around each other.
That's because they're probably the same company now.
Well, that's also, and then the other, it's like dog eat dog. It's like I'm coming in and taking part of your market or part of your customer base. And that's, I think, initially what it was about. I'm bigger than you. I'm about to come in and stomp you and take your customers, as opposed to there's enough hungry bellies for everybody to sell their burgers to, you know?
You got it. My sister had mentioned that Jules of Dominic. Jules of Dominic is selling out to some people.
They constantly sell out.
Right,
I mean, a lot of people don't realize that other companies own other companies that own other companies. That's just like the electronic industry. I was told that there are only a few electronic suppliers, and those few sell their products who resell it to us.
Right.
You know, and I've seen this. I've seen a stereo system at Radio Shack, and it has a little Radio Shack name on it. I go to another place, Kmart. It's the same, identical electronic. It just don't have Radio Shack now.
Don't have, right.
So I'm like, I thought that they all made their own. No, they buy from a handful
Mitsubishi.
of yeah, they buy from a handful of
Sony,
companies that sell them, and they resell them to
Stick
us.
the name on it.
Yeah, and they sell it to us for a much bigger markup. You know,
People really believe that all these food is less than a big mega company like Jules or you know. And I'll keep trusting. No, it's the same food. No. All these food is not as good as Jules. I said they changed the label. They got all these canned goods. It's the same beans in that can than it is in Jules, and they refuse to believe that.
but you know what? The answer to that question is yes and no. Yes, because you're right. No, because it's processed differently. You know, there's a reason why a can of beans at Jules that costs $2 and that same can or can of beans is 59 cents. And there are many different factors. One of them is the one in the store for $2, the people that literally stock it get paid more than the other people that do it on the other end. So the answer to that question is actually yes and no.
Yeah,
You know?
but it's still the same bean. A bean is a bean. If you have a warehouse of 100,000 skids of pinto beans, and me being at my store, Joseph's store, and you have your store, you don't want my label on your cans. Those beans come from the same field.
Yeah, but they're processed differently sometimes.
What, boiled and put in a can?
Yeah. The metals, the cans that they actually put them in are sometimes different from the $2 can. Again, there's a lot of factors.
Well,
in that.
I noticed that a lot of cans have coated with Teflon now.
Yeah. So the answer again to that question is yes and no. There are a lot of factors that make the $2 can $2 and the 59 cent can 59 cents.
Okay.
But there is a markup, and a lot of people don't realize this. You know, like say for instance with the cell phone, I paid I think maybe $40 for the cell phone. The company that I have my cell phone deal with, they didn't pay $40 for this. They probably paid $5, and they marked it up $30.
Right.
And a lot of us don't realize that there's a huge markup in retail. You know, they're not just giving you what they're giving you for that price because they paid, because if they did, they wouldn't make any money. And I understand that. They have to have an area for profit.
Well,
but the profit is just so ridiculously high. That's the issue that I normally have. I'm like, yeah, I want you to make money, but you know, I shouldn't pay 5 times the amount of what I'm paying, and you haven't.
Years ago, I worked in a ladies' clothing store, and my boss came and said, "These," I said, "No, those shoes they're ugly. Women don't like them." I think the shoes were like 40, maybe $50. My boss looked at me and said, "Joseph, raise the price to $150 and put them on sale for $40." I said, "Well, that don't make any sense."
And they do that. I've seen this. I go to the store and see a shoe for $50. I come back next week, buy one get one free.
Yeah.
Now that shoe is $100.
Right.
So I'm like, the only thing you did was raise the price and just give me another shoe for the same price.
Right.
So there's no sale.
And he explained it to me. He says some women, when they come here and see this shoe is on sale from $105 down to, they gonna buy it.
Yeah.
Shoes sold out like chiclets.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. Well, sometimes we just don't realize what they're doing. But on that note, we kind of running out of time. I see our cameraman Tom kind of giving us the signal to cut the show. But as always, I thank you for coming to my talk show, Tell It Like It Is. Again, I'm Morrisman and my co-host
Joseph Spencer.
Until next time, keep thinking.